Hey everyone, good afternoon. Can you hear me all right? Yeah. You back there, can you hear me? Is my voice silky and smooth and beautiful? So I'm Luis Aguasvivas, and I'm a game critic. Sad life, so please support us. No, I'm here with an illustrious panel, which we're gonna go around and introduce ourselves in a little bit. We're gonna be talking about just writing about games now, like how we write about games. All of us tend to do something that I consider to be fairly interesting in the space, and hopefully you get a lot out of this. We'll also be taking questions at the end, so if there's something you want to ask, feel free. If you have tomatoes, just please stand there and throw them at me. You can make a tomato jam, right? Tomato soup, tomato jam. So.
Hi, I'm Stuart Gipp. I'm mostly a Retronauts guy, but I also do books and games writing elsewhere. And depending on who you ask, I'm either an asset to the podcast or a hindrance.
Hello, everybody. I'm Jake Steinberg. I am a writer and university professor. My debut was recently acquired and is coming out this year. Pretty excited about that. I host a podcast. Oh my God, yes, thank you, yes. My power, it grows. I host a video game podcast called Critical Error that is concerned with how we talk about video games. Love the show. Subscribe to the pod. And happy to be here and hanging out with you all.
Hi, MAGFest. I'm Autumn. I am a freelance writer. I write games criticism for anywhere that will pay me. So you can find my stuff all over the internet, and also my home is kind of unwinnable.com, the indie games publication.
Yeah, and as I said before, I'm Luis Aguasvivas. I'm also a writer. I run the NPR Best Games of the Year's list, columnist at Debug. I've been at other places, some that don't exist anymore. Very sad. But, that's what we're here to talk. We're here. You're going to sit into a therapy session, work session. Hopefully you're going to hear some jokes. Thank you, sir. Yeah, and all right, so we're gonna go into the first topic, and it's pretty simple. Why games? Why are we deciding to spend our time thinking, writing about games, being here to discuss games? And I'll start with you, Jake.
Why my gosh. I have such an unromantic answer to this. But so a lot of my background is in film and TV. I have a master's degree in creative writing, and I found that people say this thing all the time about video games, right? That it's like a young medium, and it's we're still kind of figuring out the conventions of the craft. And as somebody in academia, I kind of found that if I wanted to write an essay about a Shakespeare play, about a Jane Austen novel, it was really hard for me to feel like I could write something that somebody had not already written before way better than I was going to do. I'm seeing the head nods out there. Oh my God. And obviously that's not entirely true, right? We all have our own unique perspectives, but I find that there's a lot of power and curiosity and creativity that can be born from pointing years, decades, centuries of craft from other medium, from other, kind of related fields, and trying to deploy them against video games as a medium, trying to see if it holds up to the same kinds of interrogation that people have been putting books, movies, TV through for years and years. And I think there's a lot to learn from that practice.
Yeah. Stuart?
Oh, yeah, same.
Wait, what university you teach at?
Sorry. Honestly, I don't have as good an answer as that. I like them. I think they're good. I always liked them. I always liked them more than pretty much anything. So I always found there were more interesting avenues mechanically to write about. You've got everything. You've got narrative. You've got input. You've got culture. That's pretty much it. Nothing else held the same appeal.
Let's put an addendum on this question, and now you are forced to say what your favorite game is as well.
Oh my gosh, people love
yes.
that.
Okay, because you just said I love games. I've always loved games. But what's the one when somebody says, "What's your favorite game?" What speaks to you? Oh, yeah. Okay, fine.
Yes.
Fine.
Put him on the spot.
All right, here we go. I'm ready to accept judgment in whatever form it manifests.
Tomatoes, please.
I'm going Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Explorers of Sky. Yes, baby. Yes, that's right. Thank you. That's right. Clap it up.
True sicko. True sicko.
Thank you. Yes, it is.
That's the only one I haven't played of that series. No! I will. I'm going to now. For you, I will. Don't judge me. And it's The Binding of Isaac Rebirth.
Autumn.
Hi. So why games? So in the late 2010s, I was in undergrad studying rhetoric and history, and I was like very academic pursuit mindset, maybe going to grad school, whatever. And then my roommate who got me into Giant Bomb was like, we were having these conversations, and he was like, I think you might like what this other guy who used to be here is doing called Waypoint. And that really clicked for me because it was like taking stuff I was learning in school, putting in conversation with pop culture and like stuff that more people are interacting with. And I really thought that, like Waypoint showed how that can be an avenue to have these conversations that combine big ideas, cultural critique, analysis with stuff that people can ground themselves in. It's not just not having anything to say about Jane Austen, but a lot of the people I was talking to had never read Jane Austen. So it was like it was this cultural touchstone, and I thought it was a place for the conversation to happen. And it turns out it's not that much bigger of a conversation than academia, but it's it's there. And the game is, there's like 3 JRPGs that rotate in my head, but today it is Xenoblade Chronicles 3.
That game rules. Oh my God. Yeah, what a great game. Yeah, but going back to like Waypoint and Kill Screen, I think those are like the 2 places where I think that the discussion around video games was elevated in a way that a lot of folks see that as like the origin of where we are now. I think things are changing enough that we can say that people are building a new path here. I think, you 3 here on the panel do that. For me, I'll start with my favorite game. And there's only one game that's ever existed, one game that's ever worth playing, and it's Miss Pac-Man. It's the greatest game ever made. And, I think video games have not come a long way since Pac-Man. And
It's not just Pac-Man.
yeah. It's not just, but it's like, it should be. Yeah. Why games for me? I mean, similar to all of you, I spend a lot of time with them. Some of my fondest memories are playing games. Some of my saddest memories are also around playing games. And I try to bring that into my writing. I see my writing as like exorcism almost. It's like I have to get this out. So I tend not to write about anything that I don't want to. There's a few times that I had to write a review. Like, I remember, like, Tears of the Kingdom, I reviewed that in my old publication, Pop Matters. When you have to review a game that large and you only have a week, it can kill you. Like, I thought I was going to die when I was, like, playing that game. And so then I'm like, everybody's just going to write about the standard thing. So I just talked about having no fun while playing the game. No fun in the sense of you're having fun, but you're breaking the game, right? Like, you're the person who, instead of playing Mario Kart or trying to win, you're like, oh, what are the animations if I like jump off like this ledge? Like, what does Donkey Kong do, right? It's like playing that game in that space. And that's really, and I think that's really special because games give you that avenue to explore that you can't really do that with film, right? Imagine like you're a film critic and you're gonna be, okay, I'm gonna go to the movies and I'm gonna talk about this movie. I'm gonna talk about whatever, like Star Wars, New Hope, but I'm actually gonna stand in the middle of the screen, like in front, nobody can watch it, and that's what I'm gonna write about. Actually, that sounds pretty awesome. But you probably won't get out of that theater alive. So next topic, we're gonna talk about, this is gonna be heated. Tomatoes ready, please. Divest from lore.
Great.
I am shocked at the response to this.
Yeah, who are you?
Because I was like, okay, so we're just jumping into the deep end of things that like only we care about, like super like just in the weeds, writing about games, divest from lore. Autumn, you put this on the slideshow.
I did.
How would you? How? I want them to know it wasn't me. And how would you cue this up for people that might be unfamiliar with the premise of this argument?
Yeah, I mean, I was just thinking about like what is in the popular conscious of talking about video games, and it is, about intention, meaning, where is that found? And the idea of divest from lore for me was like kill the author, basically. But like, I think the interesting games writing can definitely pull on that, but the meaning has to be made in the self, and I think like the most interesting games writing is usually stuff that is using the game as a springboard to talk about something else, really, right?
Yeah, and I think to kind of frame this in the most basic of terms, kind of going all the way back to like the Roland Barthes idea, the death of the author, right? Just the premise that meaning is created between the text and the reader. So like when you play a game, the things that you might be concerned with writing about, it should be something that is speaking to you and your worldview and your perspective, rather than reading a piece of writing that you almost feel like this could be interchangeable with a million different websites or authors on the internet, kind of writing something that anybody could have written. Where's that injection of the self in your pieces? And I think it's kind of funny to be at an event like MAGFest, where I think you will find a lot of strong like fandoms and people who are really deep into maybe something like lore, and to suggest, to be so bold, to say that we should get away from the lore is funny, because I think you see this topic pop up a lot in popular culture. Are there any Stranger Things fans in the audience right now? I know it's a bad time for them, so sorry. But I'm seeing this so much right now, where it's almost this this understanding of the text of this show, for the record, that I'm not like a big fan of, but it's almost coming from what the directors of it are like saying in interviews and stuff, rather than interfacing directly with the experience of watching it, right? Yeah.
Stuart?
Yes?
What do you think? Like when you're sitting with a game, right? And I'm thinking about your book, your awesome book. Please,
What is the name of that book, and where can we buy it?
Oh, yeah. Well,
Yeah, all games are good from limited run games.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I find that it's an interesting question for me, because, like, I mean, it's kind of a high-minded question, considering that I'm not really a high-minded games writer at all.
You are. You are.
Well, okay, that's very kind of you, but I really am not. Well, the thing is, I think there's kind of in the UK with games writing, there's a kind of a history, in pop writing in general. There's a magazine called Smash Hits, like an 80s pop music magazine. And it had this overall tone of like, we love this, but this is all a bit silly, isn't it? Like, we love this, but it's kind of, it's throwaway, it's silly, it's fun. And that kind of carried forward into the games magazines of like the late 80s, 90s. They all had this fairly flippant, jokey approach to games writing. So that's what I was reading when I was getting my sort of hand-me-down magazines way too late. And I sort of carried that forward into pretty much everything I write now. And I can take these things seriously, but I find it more fun sort of not to, because it doesn't feel like there are that many writers not doing, if that makes sense. Yeah. But lore in general, I just don't play games that have lore in the first place, Or if they do, like play stuff like Tempest and old like Mega Drive games where all the lore is in the manual, and then you don't have to worry about it. It's fine. Just that's my approach in general, I think, to avoid it in general.
Yeah. Autumn?
I mean, I think I'm just thinking, since we're talking about writing, it's like when we are trying to write about something that has maybe like moved us, it can be tempting to like talk about like, well, these characters did this thing, like, I don't know, I guess this is just the thing I see the writing I find less interesting doing resorts to what is happening in the game, and not like what is the experience for the author and what is that making them feel, what is their like personal history that this is interacting with.
Yeah, there's definitely, I think in any pop culture writing, this kind of position of authority that manifests in like, I am the person you should listen to talk about this game or this comic book or whatever, because I know the most about it. And I think it's important for writers, especially young writers, to understand that that's just not the position you need to inhabit, the worldview that you need to participate in to write something meaningful and substantial about any piece of media.
I like how you put that, because it's like I feel like there's a trope of like YouTube video essays that are just Wikipedia pages. And like that's the same thing as lore. It's just like the development lore.
Yeah.
Oh my God, does that ever happen to you where you click on like a so-and-so retrospective on YouTube and then it's just a summary?
Yeah.
Just a summary? Oh my God, it drives me crazy. It drives me crazy. It's like, tell me what it made you feel, you know?
Yeah. No, I was just gonna bring that up. Yeah, I see that so many times. You're trying to do research about something for a project, and it's like, okay, let's see what people are talking about it. Yeah, and it's just like this like exposition of like the narrative, and it's like very few things of like, okay, how the game was made, like the context of the game was made, and what the people playing it who are talking about it feel about it. It's not even like, oh, the mechanics are good, like the jumping is good. It's like, all right, like, did you try to jump like that in real life? It's like, oh, Mario jumped over the Goomba, and I'm like, well, I do this all the time. When I'm walking down the street, I see a dog, I jump over the dog. It's like Mario. It's like, oh, I'm a big fan in my neighborhood. But as you can see, it's interesting. Like, there's so many approaches that one can take in writing, and it kind of saddens me when you just see people stick to a specific template, either because it works or it's most of us are, at least in the YouTube space, like a lot of people are doing this for fun. It's like, why am I doing the same thing everybody else is doing on there? Like, try something. I mean, look at all the awesome stuff we're seeing here, right? Like with all like the fandom, like people making their own cosplay. They might put like a little embellishment, in like the piece that's different from the person like next to them and everything. That's something that we should always like strive for. It's like, yeah, this work was made by someone else, but we can add our own thing to it, and lack of better words, like make it our own, right? So
there's this idea you brought up of like seeing the template online of like what games writing looks like. I really like this definition from the essayist Matthew Salesses, who says that craft is a set of expectations. And kind of a way to make this clear is if you read a novel and you find that the author is using the word said over and over, every other sentence, said, that's the dialogue tag that they use. We, as like American readers, see that as invisible. We don't think about the word said. But if you were to get maybe like an English as a second language reader, and I've had these students, they will like,
I'm one of them.
They will, me too actually. They will pick up a Melville and be like, what's wrong with this guy? Did he not know any words? And it's funny, we have been, craft almost as a system of power. It tells you who is in control and what the norms are. And I love this idea of like seeing the games writing template. An example I always like to pull from is this idea of like the Pokemon games, right? If you go on Wikipedia right now and you look up like the summary to Pokemon Red and Blue, you will see a plot. There is a story. There are characters. There is like a series of events that happen, right? But there is a form of storytelling in that game that is only able to exist in the medium that is not included in the story section of the Wikipedia page. The fact that the first town that you go to when you get your little monster, you go up to the gym and the door is locked. You go on the whole adventure, you see things, you change, you go stronger, and then you come back. It's not that the world has changed. It's that you have changed, and you are stronger. The door is unlocked.
Yeah.
That is story. Yeah.
Anybody else? All right. Another juicy topic here, the voice, forming one's own opinion on something, right? That's actually like a really good segue. I'll give an example. I have a lot of controversial opinions when it comes to games. A lot of games that people say are great, I look at them like, that's not that good. Other games that people say are bad or aren't that great, I'm like, what are you talking about? This is like the greatest thing I've ever encountered in my entire life. Like I said earlier, I still think like the scene for video games is like Miss Pac-Man. So unfortunately, I bring that bias, right, when I am playing like other stuff. And games have changed so much. I feel that a lot of AAA games are very samey. No matter how technically accomplished they are, like it can be amazing, like you can do all this stuff. It's like I'm essentially going to work again. Like it's like, oh, I'm out of work, now I'm gonna try to play whatever, Grand Theft Auto 5, it's like work, like this list of stuff, and it's like, oh, you have to do all this. I'm gonna give a small shout out to Nintendo. Thanks to them for not going into the whole achievement thing. Like, I think that's been like a big deal, because games have just ruined themselves for me when it's like, all right, there's all this stuff you have to do, and my personality is I have to do this because this is in the game. If I don't engage with that, the game is ruined, and in the process of doing that, I hate the game afterwards. It's like I just spent 120 hours on this, and Assassin's Creed whatever, Assassin's Creed and Atlantis, right? And then it's like, well, actually, how's that different from Ghosts of like whatever? How's that different from Grand Theft Auto? Like when you look at it from the perspective of the actual like gameplay feel on there, and that's an opinion that I have on that, and I make it known, and I get into a lot of trouble. And Stuart and I were talking last night. Sticker Star rules.
Yeah, it's great.
Paper
It's a
Mario
great game.
Sticker Star rules.
Yeah, people didn't get it. Not me though. I'm very smart. And
All right,
I got it. No, I mean, forming your opinion. I mean, what else can you do? I don't understand the alternative. Like, if you're sort of upholding a consensus, and you see this on YouTube, I think. I guess it's easy to. If you're so intrinsically linked with sort of the audience feedback and with the money of an audience, you need to please that audience, right? So I can see the temptation to say, hey, you're all right. This game is good. You were right. Let's talk about that. Let's keep enjoying this. But I mean, the most I ever got yelled at on the internet, is for saying I like stuff like Balan Wonderworld, which I did like. I thought it was an interesting game.
It's not perfect, but I don't think it's a bad
extremely.
Wait, are you just testing me personally? What is happening? Did you like plan this? I kept my mouth shut during the Nintendo trophies thing. I was like, I don't even.
There's a reason you're in the middle.
But just to clarify, when we're talking about forming an opinion, just because I say blah 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 isn't, even if I might even use like a word like it isn't good, it's obviously like an opinion. Like if you think whatever game it is, it's like your favorite game, that's completely valid and live that.
Yeah, but like, not that I'm challenging you on this one, but it's kind of weird to have to say that, right? Yeah. Like, you see that on YouTube all the time. I see that on things like Blue Sky all the time. It's fine if you disagree. Like, of course, it's. What are people saying or doing to like make that necessary to say?
I think people are shell-shocked.
It's a shame that that's necessary.
I mean, I'll give an example and I'll shut up here. It's like when I was talking about my Tears of the Kingdom review, I praised that game. I think that game is like probably the best like modern Nintendo game because it's just so many games in just one game. Like if you don't like the narrative, you can go around and like do the weird like creating and tinkering and like, and if you're a sicko, like throwing like a Korok like across the world or whatever. I can't imagine doing that to those beautiful creatures, but that was, people were having a lot of fun doing that.
Maybe that's why you didn't like the game. You weren't having fun with the Korok.
Yeah, well, I had so many hate emails, like really like despicable stuff, because my title's like having fun with no fun in Tears of the Kingdom. And they just read that, didn't read, my actual stuff. And it's just like, if you just go like even like on the first paragraph, I call that like one of the greatest like achievements in like modern gaming. It's like, that game is so sophisticated with software that at the time is like 15 years old, you're doing all that stuff, like that's like mind-boggling.
Yeah.
But yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I think all this goes back to like the good, bad, it's all subjective. The criticism is the argument that is not objective, but it is grounded in like a thing that actually exists that we can both observe. And I'm thinking that like, my favorite way to write about games is when I can read a lot about the games from other people writing about it. And, at the most basic level, if I'm disagreeing with someone says this is fun, someone's like really high on this game, and then I play it and I don't feel that way at all, then it's a really productive place is to get really down to why. And to like go look at what someone else has written positively about this game and like see what they're saying specifically, like, and try to like match that and figure out why my experience is different. And then you can like go root that in ideas about design, theory stuff. I don't think things are I don't think like everything's totally subjective, right? There's genre convention, there are norms and expectations, and I do think it is useful to refer to that. And like Jake was saying about these like invisible norms in our writing, I do think that it's not for me, but is one of those things in really popular mainstream gaming discourse. And that is not an argument, right? That's not what interesting writing about games says.
100%. Yeah, Bell Hooks said, critique is an act of love aimed at transformation. And I think it's transformation in the reader. There's almost, so this like question of like, how do you form your own opinion? I think so much of it is that you need to be brave and not give in to pressure. I think with so many games, if you're a fan of like any video game franchise, there's almost a calcified opinion of which game in the franchise is like the good ones, the bad ones, the best ones. Like you're supposed to know this. And if you don't uphold that position, it's almost like you don't know the games as well as the super fans do. But even writing about games as like a member of the press, I feel like there is a certain amount of pressure to, you know, you go to a preview event. There are all sorts of forces acting on you to represent a game a certain way. And so that's why I kind of say that forming one's opinion is an act of bravery, because it's that personal, that interrogation. And Autumn, I really liked what you were saying about from the text, citing the text. One of my favorite professors said to me, whatever you are criticizing, you need to be as precise as the thing that you are criticizing. So if we assume every single thing in a video game was chosen specifically and intentionally and on purpose, then in our criticism, our words need to be chosen specifically, intentionally, and on purpose, every single one.
Yeah. To that end, this is a little bit of a pivot, but something I do when I'm like, have time with the piece that I'm really enjoying, and it's like not necessarily having to adhere to being like a review, is like really matching the tone of the game. So like years ago I wrote about Nier Automata, and it was like I wanted to make something that was really like somber and existentially wistful, right? And so I ended up writing about Hades Town and just this feeling of the world burning down in 2020. And like I was living in South Florida at the time. That's when there was like a building collapse, and that became a part of writing about Nier Automata and making sense of this game that is about like the end of the world and also transhumanism. And so I think like YouTube essayists that I do enjoy really lean into matching a game's tone with like the dramatic music and the like acoustics, the filtering, the being able to use actual footage of the game and stuff. I think like, you know, Jacob Geller's very popular, and like his like Clair Obscur video essay, I think part of why people really like that is because when they play the game and then go watch that, it is like continuing the same emotion. It is on the same register as what that game is doing. But I think that's like another interesting place to start, and then like bring that emotion into your own world and like your own life, whatever's connecting with you there. And that's like another productive place to write from.
Yeah, because I ultimately, I mean, it's somewhat selfish, but when I write, there's a lot of things I'm trying to get out of that, which is one is I want to be a better writer. So this is like an experience, right? This is me going back to like the dojo and having like the sensei like constantly. It's just like, oh, like catch the fly with the chopsticks. And it's like, I finally do. And it's like, okay, here's just one chopstick. So like catching out, it's like, okay. And it's like, okay, now you can't use chopsticks. It's like, okay. And it's like, okay, now you can't use your hand. So I use that as like exercise. And it does help me form, in a weird way, it does help me like form opinion. And yeah, going back to Jake was saying, like, and Stuart, it is kind of like, it's weird to say like being brave, right? And it's, even without having an opinion, it's hard when you just see like the blank page and then you just have to write about it. And it's like, okay, where am I going with this?
Yeah, I mean, there is pressure, like, as you were sort of alluding to. I mean, there's pressure from the sort of relationship between PR and reviewers, obviously, editors who then gently nudge you, hey, what are you going to score this game? Because we have an advertorial feature running, and we'd love to know. So that is also I guess there's sense of bravery in that you want to retain the work because you need the money as well. So trying to find a way to sort of be to express yourself while also being true to sort of yourself, I find is quite difficult.
Can I also say, I think it's worth de-escalating the importance of negative feedback. Like, honestly, if somebody reads an essay that I wrote and they disagree with it, congratulations, you are engaging with the piece the way I wanted you to. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, that's fantastic. I don't, it's not a big deal.
Not necessarily, it's not about being right, it's about
Yeah.
creating like a healthy like discourse and conversation.
Yeah, and like this conversation there is the background of Gamergate to it, obviously.
Sure.
But even putting that aside, I know I have felt when I'm about to publish something that is like really high or really low, I do get a little nervous about that. And I've like talked to other writers who do get a little nervous when the sentiment has not yet formed, or there is like an expectation through the marketing of a game and the expectation of what this game is, and you now have your own version of what this game is that is different from anyone else's. That can be really scary because it's like, am I about to embarrass myself by having the wrong opinion?
Everybody's gonna think I'm a bad gamer.
I still think that.
That you're bad at
But it's like, I think when I think that, it is rooted in like, sometimes I just watch something and I don't like it, or I really do like it, and then I go read someone's review and it's like they're tearing this thing apart that I just kind of casually enjoyed. I'm like, oh wow, I see so much here that I did not see before. So when I'm reviewing stuff, I'm still not sure if I'm seeing everything that other people are seeing. And like this is why having a plethora of critical discourse is great, right? But individually, that still looms over. But I also think it's good to know that kind of applies to everyone.
Yeah. So let's move on now. We've touched on this, but like the process, like what's like your process of like writing? So one of the big challenges when it comes to video games is like there's like this massive thing, right? It's not like a movie where, you sit down, you watch like now most movies are like 2 hours, but even relatively speaking, that's fairly short compared to like most like video games. And then you can like you can even rewatch the movie and it won't like kill your time, right? When you're reviewing something that's like 200 hours, you have a week, if you're lucky, 2 weeks, and you have to come up, you have to then come up with an opinion. I think that poses challenges that are like really difficult. I've gotten to the point that I've moved away from a lot of reviews, and I'm fortunate too, where I'm doing not only more editorial work, but I can do like more features or things of that nature. And obviously that process is very therapeutic for me. I've gotten so crazy with this that I actually now, forgive me, but I write by hand now. And then I move to the computer because I spend so much time on a screen that it becomes difficult sometimes just to like even work on that. Even though I'm a decent typer, it's like I just go in, put my ideas, and then I formulate it, and then putting it into like the word processor or whatever, that's where I start doing like editing. And then I reread it, I try to sit on it for a little bit, and I reread it and change some stuff. Ultimately, for me, like writing, the best analog is like sculpting, right? You have like this like thing, and you're just like chiseling away. Like my first draft compared to like the final one, sometimes it's like it's like night and day. It's not even like recognizable. Not only because hopefully the writing is good, but then also like my ideas formed. It's like sometimes where I'm like, I don't know if I like this, and then I keep thinking about through the process of thinking about it, it's like, oh, I get what they're doing now. Actually, I do like this. And then I go back. So it's challenging.
Yeah, I also started writing more by hand about a year ago. And I do most of my like note taking. And now like when I read something cool, I will like write the quotes from whatever essay I read in a commonplace book. And that's also where I'll like note take when I'm playing a game or watching something, or when I'm starting to form ideas for like a pitch or a review. But I think Luis's metaphor of sculpting is really interesting, and this is where you start to get into like high-minded writer stuff, because my metaphor for writing is path and like trails. Comes out of like Rebecca Solnit's writing about nature, wandering, etc. And so I feel like I'm in this forest trying to find a path and like carving my way through it. And at the beginning of writing anything, I don't know what it's going to be at the end. I don't know how I feel or think about all this stuff through. And it is only through drafting painfully and revising that I'm like actually forming the ideas. That makes pitching really annoying. I just do a lot more writing beforehand. But yeah, and so to me, there is I always have the sense that there's this ideal path that is what is in this essay, in the shape of this essay that I'm trying to get close to. And it's weird because I don't believe in platonic forms, but it's kind of similar to that. Like I'm trying to get my thing close to that, and I don't know how to get there. And I don't feel like I achieve that most of the time.
Jake?
Yeah. Okay. I tell my students two things. One, writing is remembering. Everyone has great ideas, and I think in the drafting process, the most helpful thing is to never sit down, look at the blank page, and start from there. It's to, when you do have a good idea, write it down or have some other way to remember it. So when you sit down and are looking at that blank page, you have somewhere to start. And then I think for me, the other thing is not much of a sculptor or a pather. I guess I think of it more as like storytelling and performance. For me, the first thing I always write is the sentence or the idea that I want everyone to get to, like kind of the most dramatic moment of whatever it is that I'm writing. So, I don't know, what's an example? Like when I reviewed Kirby Air Riders, for Kotaku, the whole piece was centered around this idea of a Snickers commercial and how Snickers commercials will tell you that it will satisfy you, that it is substantial. But we know it's just a candy bar. And there was an idea there, and I'm like, okay, this is where I kind of want interest in this piece to peak, and that's the first thing I write. And then everything else around that is how do I get to this part as dramatically as possible? Yeah.
Stuart?
I mean, this is where the imposter syndrome kicks in, isn't it? Get really tired, leave it as late as possible, so that you're completely in your own head, and then just blitz it at max speed.
None of us said we don't do that.
Everything that comes out will be completely true to you because you haven't got any time left for it not to be.
I didn't say that I'm not doing this at 2 a.m.
First thought, best thought, maybe.
And you're going to have a conviction that borders on arrogance. That's the important thing, is whatever you're writing, just feel like, no, I'm going to write this as if I know it's true, and it would be insane to suggest otherwise.
You have to.
Yeah.
That's great advice. I kind of wish more writers were less apologetic, less like, oh, it's just not for me. Say it's bad. Nothing's going to happen.
Yeah.
Nothing will happen if you say it's bad.
I mean, you might get harassed by Nazis on the internet.
Yeah.
You can say anything and nothing will happen. It's just words.
It's just words, guys.
You know?
They have no meaning.
No,
right?
it's good.
No, it's... All right, so we're going to do one more topic, and then we're going to get to questions. This one here, what stays with you in the end? So after you spend whatever time on, a game, what's a game that came out last year? Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, right? After you're done with that one, and then, you write about it, what stays with you afterwards, right? Once you forget about the game or
I forgot about the game.
What game? Sorry? Forgot about what game?
You said Metroid Prime 4.
No, that's just an example. You don't have to talk about that game, but it's what's the point, right? Like what's the point of writing about this, right? At the end, like what is it? It's like, are you trying to do like a compilation of this? Is this just like the way you get your check? And what do you want from like the audience to get, right? From what they read, because ultimately the audience is the most important thing. Unless you're like me, who just like writes for myself, and I don't like actually.
I can't do that.
Care, but
I need
it's
someone
like,
to read it.
Yeah.
But which I don't recommend, because then like you don't have any readership. But
I mean, I write for myself, and thankfully, somehow by coincidence or by mistake, somehow people seem to enjoy that.
it's the accent. They read
Because
the accent.
yeah, they can read it in my accent somehow. But if I can think of something that's either, I don't know, something that resonates with me, or one of my sort of stupid idiosyncratic obsessions in video games, that's what I want to write about. something I find humorous, I want to write about that. I want to put a lot of humor in that. This goes back to the sort of smash hits thing. I can write more seriously about video games, but there are people much better than me at doing that. Vastly superior at doing that. And so I thought I'd come away with it, and I want to sit and I kind of think like I think this is reasonably unique. This is a perspective that was worth expressing, because I don't know if anyone else would have expressed it either in the same way or with the same conclusion. And again, conviction that borders on arrogance. Like that's what you absolutely need to have, I think.
Yeah. I think when I like read something really good, I retain the sense of like a good emotional impact of a story being told. If there's like one thing you all should read after this, it is Playing Metal Gear Solid 5
That's
in the
a
New
crazy
Yorker.
piece.
That's like,
Yeah.
that is what I will always aspire to do.
Yeah, that's a specter over my life.
Yeah, I think that's in the New Yorker.
Yeah, it's like, when I think about that piece, it's like, one, I love it because it's like, that's like the scenic, and then I hate it because I'm never going to fix that, you know?
I think that's Jamil Jan Kochai,
Yes.
I believe. Yeah. But so when I am writing something, I think what often stays for me from a game is the conversation after I play it, right? This is why criticism is important. This is like kind of why we do the thing. When I think about Alan Wake 2, I think about this essay I wrote months after playing Alan Wake 2, as I was going through the throes of these like panic attacks that were happening nearly daily that I'd never experienced before in my life. And I started to think, I was like playing Alan Wake 2 at one point during this, and I was like, oh, this overlap is what I am feeling too. And it started to be like, oh, this is like a one-to-one thing. Like someone at Remedy was onto something with this. And I wrote through it, and it didn't make me better, but now whenever I think about anxiety, it is through this lens of Alan Wake 2, which I don't know how I feel about. Totally, I don't know if that's healthy at all. But, and when I think about Xenoblade, I think about conversations about and identity through those games. And then when I write reviews, sometimes there's not a lot that comes out after that because there's not a lot of conversation for most games. But then sometimes you write a preview for this neat little project that's like a debut from this studio you've never heard of. And then 8 months later, it becomes the subject of a Gamergate harassment campaign. It's your preview from before these people knew what this game was, gets dragged into it as if you were like a flag bearer for something. And that is, I cannot think of Dustpunk separate from that now. But yeah, it's all part of the conversation. So I think we should have more conversations, and it feels like partly because of social media dying, then also the recalcitrance in the face of another resurgent Gamergate is like people are just quieter and they don't want to have those loud opinions. And part of it is like professional games writers don't know how to disagree with each other, and they get a little too catty and take things too personally, and I'm also guilty of this for sure.
When we talk about what stays with you in the end, I think for me it's always about the people and the effect. Nothing is better for your soul than being a well-rounded person, and taking in the perspectives of others is a great way to do that and actualize that. Early last year, Autumn actually wrote a piece for Aftermath about the BDS boycott against Microsoft that was transformative for me personally, and became the most cited piece of games writing that I don't think I've ever shared a piece more in my life. And just exposing people to that perspective, I think, had a real tangible difference on people's lives. And that's, I think, the thing that stays with me the most. But like personally, it's as a teacher and as like an academic and an educator, I have taught classes before about storytelling craft, and my background's in film and TV, and I have watched people just completely really struggle to understand some of these like higher-minded concepts. And then when I streamed Xenoblade Chronicles and I said, look at how this game deploys the exact same 15 beats that I can tell you are in every single movie you've ever seen, all of a sudden it clicked for people. And to see that closeness then manifest in Something like what Ta-Nehisi Coates describes as the ecstasy of discovery was so powerful to me, and I think really exposed how this medium and this art form can be used to make better people. Yeah.
Anybody else have anything to add, or we can move to audience questions?
I am dying to know what the people who decided to come to this panel wanted us to talk about.
Yeah, y'all laughed at like the most esoteric jokes.
Oh
Who
my
are you?
God. Like, please ask a question. Dying to know. Because it's like, we work in this space. We do a lot of other stuff. I'm not sure if what we talked about today was at all on your radar when you chose to sit down in this room. Maybe you're just waiting for lunch. I don't know, but please, would love to field questions about anything and everything.
2 questions, 3 questions.
Oh my
That's
God,
amazing.
thank you.
So not necessarily like a question, but I find that like video games, everyone has their very subjective tastes in what they like. And so you're talking about like there's a pressure to kind of like, oh, there's this consensus opinion that has to form around a game. But everybody likes different things. It's all very subjective, and so often the best thing is find a critic that kind of has similar tastes to yours. And even if they go against the grain, you might find that they're recommending this game that everyone else hates, but it's great. Like I love it, or that sort of thing, or vice versa. Like this game that everyone says is amazing, but it does not click for me. So I just wanted to kind of throw that out there.
Yeah.
You know what kind of comes to mind when I think about this too is how much games writing I think is like the end result of it is like, should I buy or should I play this game? And some of my favorite games writers actually have tastes that is just completely dissimilar from mine. I look at like Giovanni Colantonio's Games of the Year list and I'm like, oh, this tasteless loser. But I And yet I love everything that he writes, and I wait on bated breath for him to post a new blog,
This is the conviction you need.
Yeah, exactly. God, his terrible taste. Okay.
I want to read about I have no interest in things like sports video games like Madden. I don't care about that. That's kind of why I want to read about it. I want to read someone who loves that explain to me why they love it. I want to be convinced of these things. There were games I used to dislike. I don't know whether I actually disliked them or I just thought I was supposed to dislike them. Yeah. And then I played them much later in my life, and I'm like, no, actually, I love this now. This is I completely get this now. It's also these different phases. I still never found an RTS that I enjoy, and one day I will. One day I will. I know I will. And then I'll have this whole new world open up to me that I'll then be able to write about. And if I got to discover that by reading someone else's writing, how else am I going to do it?
Yeah. I think like I am probably more, if someone knows my portfolio, they would assume I'm really into story-heavy games. But my favorite writers are people who can take platformers and sports games and articulate what about the movement in them. I think about Cole Cronman writing about Super Monkey Ball. I think about Tyler Abnormal Mapping. Yeah. Jackson Tyler writing about the last NBA game last year. This amazing piece that starts with like marks to talk about what the market in these NBA games has become.
Oh, that piece is good. Yeah. Cool. Thank you.
Hi. When you're talking about divesting from lore, like the point that you brought up earlier, how can games writers navigate this line of attempting to remove the game from the people who made it, like saying, oh, Capcom made Street Fighter 2, while not removing the actual humans that were crunched to death, basically, making that game?
Mm-hmm. I like that question. Games are made by people, made by workers, I think. And when we interact with them, I think that is like a thing that should be a foundational shaping our relationship to the medium. Mm. And as we are playing them, I think games are often trying to make us think that they are not made by people, or most mainstream games are doing that. And so I think something that should be like a friend of mine that is shaping every thought is that this was made by people, that there were choices made for this to end up where it was, and that it was made by usually crunched workers.
And I think when I am considering the art of criticism. I'm thinking about it as an art unto itself, and I don't want it to get it confused with the act of like being a video game journalist. And I almost do take on, if performing in either one of those roles, kind of like a different authorly voice, in the same way that when I talk about kind of like eliminating the author from my analysis in critique, what I'm really talking about is not the labor present, but the authority. The idea that Hideo Kojima can come out and tell me like what the game's about, but then I play the game and I go, okay, I don't know if I really care what you said the game was about. I think I might know better than you, So things like that. I think for the birth of the reader, there must be the death of the author, and it's not about labor as much as it is about constructing meaning. Yeah.
I apologize if this is a topic you hit before I was able to make it over here, and also I apologize for the topic. But you were talking about sort of these pieces of writing that really stuck in your head, that were very, that you go back to all the time, of the same author, because you're just excited to see what they write. I don't think anybody is that excited to see what ChatGPT is going to write. Do you have a sense of what ChatGPT does summaries, right? And if they're accurate, they're not always, right? But when they are, you can read them and they make sense and so on. Do you know what you do that's better than that? And I mean like in specific, like what makes good stuff that AI can't do?
I think Luis.
Oh, Luis gets this one.
So you've that's my worst enemy, my arch enemy in my arc in my comic book right now. It's ChatGPT and LLMs. So we were talking earlier about when you see a lot of these like retrospectives, and it's just like they talk about like it's just like the narrative of whatever game or series that you see that, which that's essentially what ChatGPT can do. And that's always, now that brings, at least for me, like a different perspective in this whole topic, which is like, what you're doing the thing that this thing is just gonna be able to just like do, and you just won't be able to do it ever again. What, at least how I see the work that I write, and my esteemed panelists, magnanimous colleagues there, it's, we try to search deeper in the sense of not only looking at these games, not only like for what they are, like it's a game, like describe what it is, but also these are cultural artifacts that are gonna outlive us, outlive their makers, right? Maybe not necessarily the game itself will be available, but its influence will be seen in other games, right? Like look at all these platformers, like would you have Balan Wonderworld without Knights, right? Without Sonic, without Mario Brothers, right? And talking about the people who made them. Maybe there was like, a group of people in that game that added certain things that changed what the game is about. This is things that we can discuss. And not only discuss them bringing our expertise if we have that, but then our perspective. And that's something that ChatGPT can't do. Mm-hmm. And I think we have to really lean into that and really make that very clear in our writing. I mean, I challenge anyone. You read one of my insane pieces and then read something about ChatGPT that they can write about like a game. It's just not gonna be the same. That's something that I very conviction and arrogance on my part, right? It's like, so something I was really proud about last year that I wrote, one of my favorite games is an old From Software game, Lost Kingdoms, GameCube game. Really weird. Is it good? Who knows? But I love it, right? And you play as Katya, who's essentially this like princess, and you have like a deck of tarot cards, and like you bring like these creatures to life. It made a big influence on me as a kid, growing up in a very like religious like household. So you could imagine like that, and I speak about that, and I talk about that. I don't really get into the story of the game, but if you know the game and you feel it, you feel and you understand like the setting and like the tone through like my writing when I describe, what I'm going through like at home, and like all these like other things on there. And that's not something that ChatGPT is going to be able to do or
Yeah.
can do.
I want to add, thank you for that response, Luis. Something that ChatGPT literally cannot do, the technology just does not work that way, is ChatGPT could never play Kirby Air Riders and then compare it to a Snickers bar.
There you go. Sure.
And I think that is such a, I'm having more fun talking about Kirby Air Riders with candy in mind. And that's something that ChatGPT literally cannot do. It cannot form opinions.
Can I jump on this too? Just being in the classroom, this is something that comes up a lot in my life just as a writer in a lot of different forms. People often ask, are you worried about ChatGPT? And to be completely transparent, as a writer, no. I think the thing I'm worried about with ChatGPT is lowering the ability of readers. I think what I'm seeing is that it's making people worse and worse at being able to parse a text for meaning. And instead, people are looking for answers. And I think, like, I'm not worried about the quality of my writing. I'm worried about creating a culture that doesn't appreciate it and that does not have the ability to parse a dense piece of writing.
Yeah.
So I don't know. People always like to, there's that question of like, aren't you nervous? It's like, I'm not nervous. I'm worried for you.
Yeah. And there aren't answers in a text either. I think that's like really foundational.
Yeah. Of course. Yeah.
I guess I worry, as with you, about the sort of the culture that normalizes sort of using ChatGPT, but also I wonder if the sort of person who would use ChatGPT would ever really read anything anyway, like to that in that way, if that makes any sense. Like, are we going to want to kind of pick up this kind of writing if you're inclined to just ask AI anyway?
Yeah. Not a lot of people read it in the first place.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not that educated about AI because it bores me. I think it's tedious. I don't want to hear about it.
It's also for
That's not
losers.
me attacking the question.
Okay.
Entirely.
If you have
that is
questions-
literally. The more I hear about it, the more I just think, oh, when is this going to go away? You know.
Also, if you have questions we don't get to, we would love to talk to you after the panel. Just
Yes,
like
please.
right over there.
Yeah.
Just so you know. We have like
We have a
2
few
or 3
minutes.
minutes.
Yeah.
Probably
Yeah.
or 3 minutes. Okay.
How do you balance earnesty, candidness, and presentability? Like, if you have a topic that's extremely personal to you, how do you write and express it without it being insane to read for a general audience, I suppose?
Oh, good question.
Be bold and have an editor. Have somebody look it over. Yeah, I mean, I think that it's there's kind of this idea in creative writing with multiple drafts about like killing your babies. It's like a sentence that you think is really great, but then other people read it and they're like, Jake, you got to delete that puppy. But then sometimes first thought, best thought. So it really is collaborative art making, that kind of thing. But also you have to be unafraid. You cannot write with a reader in mind who does not like you.
Yeah.
That's not going to get you anywhere.
Don't start from there. That's for revisions. Let the editor reel you in.
Yes. There's an idea in baseball where if a fly ball is hit, you start running backwards first because it's so much easier to run forwards than it is to run backwards. So go all the way first, and then you can reel yourself back in.
You might have reviewed some of this before I had a chance to sit down here, but you've talked about, articles that you've liked, authors you like. Are there any larger texts in game studies or games journalism that any of y'all would recommend someone that wants to get into this check out, like books and such?
Genuinely, number one recommendation, any craft book that is not about video games. Just like literary theory will get you so far, it will put you ahead of everyone else, to be completely honest with you. It is just something that a lot of people in the space are not interested in. They don't have that background, and it elevates immediately.
This is a pretty basic answer, but apologies. But and it's quite an old book now. But Trigger Happy by Stephen Paul. I want to say early 2000s. That changed the way that for me I think about games writing. There's a really interesting piece in there about just a board of Pac-Man and analyzing it as kind of a critique of sort of capitalism, which is not. It's kind of basic now, But at the time, I had never really read anything like it. Other than that, Donkey Kong Country Unauthorized Player's Guide by Prime of Secrets of the Games, I guess.
Awesome. Cool. Should we do bios wrap up?
Yeah, so I have them up there.
Great. And again, if you have questions, we would love to talk to all of you. And please introduce yourself if I know you from online too, please.
But about writing, I actually recommend books about writing. So one book that I read every year, like in January, is Ursula K. Le Guin's Steering the Craft.
Oh, I'm so glad you said that.
I just go by and just do like all the exercises. Like, and it's like a refresher, and then I see like, and I go back because I have a notebook, and I like see like, this is how I wrote about this like 10 years ago. Like, this is where I'm at now. And it gives you like a lot. And if you just want to see like some really great games writing, Critical Distance, they compile amazing work. And the New York Video Games Critics Circle, which Autumn and I are part of, we do a journalism award, which actually is going to be at the end of this year. And we highlight some folks that we think are doing like amazing work. And that's us here. So you can see I've had this up through the whole like question panel. So, you can find us on here. You can find me on Blue Sky, Aguas Points, or you can see my writing at Aguas Points, which I put everything else. I'm at NPR, Debug Mag, other places.
Yeah. I mean, you can see my ads there.
Yeah.
But thank y'all for coming and like asking questions. It's so cool. It's my first MAGFest. So
Oh my
like,
God.
Yeah, thanks very
Oh
much.
my God. Thank you.
enjoy this.